You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, and so you mentioned the coin flip of this all and how this really could be a close, fun matchup. I've pitched in the offseason that I think this would be a fun rivalry, Space City, Space University, the fun things. And you kind of got to force one with two very young schools in a lot of ways. The two youngest Power 4 schools in America in terms of like when they were founded and create athletic programs. I want to pluck your brain about what that coin flip could result in, because it's real fun to go roll dice until you lose all your chips, right? And so I want to get into that in just one. That sounded way too confident. Like, yeah, I've done that before. Before we get into all that. So Mike, you mentioned this game being a coin flip, 1.5 point spread. I think it actually opened the other way. It'll probably close at a 1.5 point spread a different way. It'll probably go back and forth a few times, of course, the week. UCF's got to make a bowl, you said, and I don't mean this in a rude way. I'm being realistic. If they don't beat Houston, I don't think they can.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to pull off a massive upset. I'm not saying they're not capable of that, but they're definitely not going to be favored to do that. So if you want to make a bowl game, this is the one you got to get. I think everybody's going to beat down on Oklahoma State this year. Screw them. They don't have the man anymore that's 40. So if you're UCF, you get that one, you get this one, and then you go bowling, right? If you're Houston, you're already bowl eligible, obviously, but you've got your sights set a little higher. Maybe some teams slip up down the stretch ahead of them. I know it's kind of a long shot for them to make that Big 12 title game at this point, but I do think that they were, before we're losing to West Virginia, they were primely positioned to really make a run in the national picture here, albeit with an easy schedule. So, both teams have things that they're playing for here. Like, one has higher goals, other has, what essentially are year one goals. But they're both very important to the fabric of where these teams want to be. And, I think if you're UCF, you've got to get one that matters this year. I'm not sure they've got a game that matters. I don't count the North Carolina game. I just don't. I know you were 0-4 versus West Virginia coming into that game, but I don't count that one either. They were a bad football team with a first-year head coach as well, too, and you beat them the way you were supposed to be. This is a game that matters. It's a space game. It's one you've never lost, and it's against a team with a winning record that has real wins on their schedule. So, yes, I think that they got to get this one.
Well, it's funny you mentioned West Virginia as being not a good team, and so that's why you don't count it in your calculus here, because losing to West Virginia is exactly why I think this is also a must-win for Houston, weirdly. And I think it works well there that, Mountaineer and Paul and West Virginia kind of the punching bag, and I don't mean to, like, punch down.
Yeah, I love Mountaineer Paul, but they suck.
Well, and so, frankly, there was so much steam about Houston doing well and 7-1 going into that game. And they had dropped one in a way that, if I'm just being honest, felt like very Dana Holgerson vibes. I don't know if Dana ever wins that game. We're riding high at 7-1, right? He just didn't. And so then you're like, okay, quick reset here. You turn around and play again on Friday night. You got to go on the road to do it. Like, what are we? Which team are you, right? Are you the team that crumble with the bright lights on you, or are you the team that won to Arizona State and won that football game in a fairly commanding fashion? It had a big, like, 2-score third quarter and like 24-0 lead at one point. I mean, it was a big deal. And so I think that Houston's kind of at a similar apex, like, which kind of season are we about to have? And I think that makes this particularly interesting on Friday night primetime. It's not on the 4-letter network, so you don't have to worry about your YouTube TV subscription or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, this will be a big deal game. And I wonder which Houston shows up. If the Houston shows up that went to Arizona, we got a great Arizona State, but went to the state of Arizona, got a great shot. If the Houston shows up to laid an egg for the first half, turn the ball over 4 times against West Virginia, I think that space thing works out well for them. Like,
well, Parker,
Hopefully they're not too pissed off at us after losing to West Virginia. That's what they're saying here. We're like, I think we would have rather they won that game than lose to West Virginia and come into the bounce house all mad at us. But, you know, we'll see. I think this is going to be one of the more underrated games here this weekend between these two teams. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
game day is at BYU, Texas Tech, with Texas Tech and BYU and Utah on the top 13 in the college football playoff. It does feel like there's all eyes on the Big 12 right now in a really positive way. It frankly, I mean, in competition with the ACC, I think they're kind of winning that one by a lot these days. I kind of feel like kicking off the weekend with a Big 12 game, an exciting one in the bounce house, crowd going crazy, would be a big part of a Big 12 weekend, at least to me, right? They'll open up college game day the next day talking about it in a lot of ways. I want to get a prediction from you. We're early in the week. The FanDuel line is going to move, so I'm assuming you can move some too. I'm not going to hold you to it, but where are you feeling at right now?
Oh man, I thought we would do this last, but right now, I think again, UCF has never lost a space game. Houston has every reason to win this game. We've seen the Jekyll and Hyde of UCF here, but I'm going with UCF in this one. I think it's a wacky game, and I think UCF wins this one 21-20. And both teams are absolutely soiling themselves at the end. And I think this is I don't see them hitting the over. I think the over under on this game is what, 45.5. What do we got?
I found on FanDuel at 47, but yeah.
47? Okay, yeah. So, I don't think we hit the over on this one. I think that the defenses win the day with these, I think UCF's offense probably struggles a little bit, but I think that Houston's offense does what they've done all year and, around 300 something yards a game. And this is a 21-20 game. So I'm giving UCF.
I would expect nothing
to win here. And I would expect it. I think at a 1.5 spread, they still don't cover, right? So
good teams win, great teams cover.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on a lot of the wackiness. I think this is like prime for like a scoreagami, like you get a safety here, a mixed extra point there, something weird. Like I could see all kinds of weirdness happening, and you get like 23-20 or some 25-22 or some sort of a score you just don't see very often. I am picking Houston in this one. I think at some point,
that's a fair point.
But whether it's Wigman making a play with his legs or like defensive tackle Carlos Allen or somebody just making a play down the stretch, having experience making plays matters. And at some point, having those road wins thus far this year, I would think plays a role. You want a tough one at Oregon State, which is a tough road trip. I know that they're not very good this year, but you want to cross the country and play it at like what was midnight local time. You went on the road to Arizona State. I think you've done a couple of these road games that you feel comfortable with doing it all over again on Friday night. Friday night's a weird night for a game, but I've gotten to where I kind of like these things. Mike, are you a fan of Friday night football, Friday night lights?
I do like Friday football. I love Friday night football, actually. So I like to mix it up a little bit, and I think that if we can get a little bit and I cover multiple teams. So anytime I can split my teams up on days, I'm all about it. So yes, I'm a big fan of Friday night football.
All right. You said that you thought that was the last thing. You got to know you're talking to the Houston guy. The last thing we're actually getting out of here on is I love Dawkins. What do you know about UCF hoops this year? Everyone's played a game at the time. This point, this has gone out to people. How are you feeling about the Knights?
I feel like the number one scorer in the Big 12, Keyshawn Hall, transferred to Auburn. And I got to tell you, I was there in Neville Arena to watch him drop 28, 5, and 4 or something like that. So that sucks. I wish he was still at UCF. But look, this is do or die season for Johnny Dawkins. Terry Mohajir is really kind of, he's out of excuses to make for Johnny Dawkins there. It was a rough season for UCF last year where they had a lot of games in their pocket they could have won, man. And they were so close a lot of times to just big time upsets, and they just could not get over the hump last year. It was brutal.
I think my Houston Cougar fans and I remember one of those near big time
upsets
yes, very vividly. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm like you. I like Dawkins a lot as a guy. I feel like he's kind of got to win this year. Obviously, I feel pretty good about Houston, and that's a whole separate show. But when they match up later, we can do more on the basketball talk later. this year. That is Mike G covering UCF with Locked On UCF. I'm Parker Ainsworth of Locked On Coogs. This has been a Locked On College crossover. Locked On Podcast Network loves bringing your team each and every day. I wrap up with Go Cougs. I don't know what the Knights do down there in Orlando.
Go Knights.